everyone, welcome to ECL Studios, where we talk about all the cool and trendy stuff. And today we want to zoom in into culture. So without wasting much time, I would like to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. First off, we have Sherlyn Chi. Hello, Sherlyn.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me here.
I'm fine. How are you doing too?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Okay, so Sherlyn, my audience would like to know who you are before we go deeper into the conversation. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'm currently recording this meeting from California, United States. I'm serving as the ECL Board of Director and the HR Committee Chair.
Thank you. And second, we have Amma. Amma, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing so well. How about you?
By grace, I'm doing well. So Amma, a little about yourself to the audience.
Well, I am Amma Ansong. I've been practicing HR for 17 years and counting. Mm-hmm. I work with Access Pension Trust Limited, and I'm excited about culture. So I'm here to just let the audience feel a part of me.
Thank you very much, Amma. So we've all heard our friends, sometimes family, colleagues saying that I don't want to go to work. What is that one thing that will make somebody's workplace different from the other? Is the culture. So Sherlyn, with that being said, we would want to know, typically in the United States, what are some of the elements you find in the culture of organizations?
Sorry.
So Sherlyn, okay, so what we want to know, so we are in Ghana and we are really interested in what culture would be for anybody working in the States. So can you share what culture is, like the typical elements you see in organizations there?
I mean, since I'm based in Silicon Valley, I will see the most of the Silicon Valley high-tech companies, they highlight the culture of work and life balance. Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Amma, what do we have in our contest?
Well, Ghana, it's more laissez-faire.
Okay.
I would say that we value trust and social bonding a lot. You would find a typical institution in Ghana where happy hour is what they call culture.
Okay.
And Ghana, there is high respect for authority. Just a few minutes ago, I was sharing an experience where in a typical Ghanaian environment, we tolerate inefficiencies. So more family oriented. So when somebody is actually putting somebody through a disciplinary process, then they are still worried about the individual. So Ghana, it's more laissez-faire than some of the other developed countries that we hear about. I wanted to hear from Sherlyn if America has a different perspective, if it's more performance-driven as we hear, or it is also more family-oriented.
Okay, Sherlyn.
I will say, there's no one size fits all culture, among different sectors, different industries, right? So talk about, the performance driven culture, family style culture, I would say it really depends on the nature of the business. For example, at a startup company, I will say, people will work very, very hard, but they have the expectation, tomorrow will be always better, right? So performance-driven culture definitely is one of the key components because the startup company, they need to survive. But the more, the large-scale business, I definitely also see a trend, people looking for more work and life balance. And some big players in the tech industry, we can see the highlight, the work hard, play hard, work-life balance, give employee autonomy, some 20% of their time to do whatever they enjoy to do, right? So this is something I will say is really depends the nature of the business and the growth stage of the business.
Okay, thank you. Now, Amma, before Sherlyn came in, you spoke about Ghanaians usually going laissez-faire, right?
Yeah.
And so does it mean that I think for some years now, we've been making noise about work-life balance. Does it mean that it already exists?
Well, I would say it exists in some industries, but some industries is not in existence. So typically in a financial institution, and I'll zoom down to the bank. Well, from most of the experiences I've heard from people working at the bank, Ghana traffic systems already 4 hours commuting distance. You get to the workplace, the work volume is so high, you close late. You literally have time to balance your work and your family. But in other industries where the kind of workload is not so demanding, it is accepted. So the reason why I use laissez-faire is not necessarily because it overrides work-life balance, but it's because we feel it's more family-oriented. And so when I'm coming to work, even though authority is respected, I should see that I'm coming to meet a family. And so I wouldn't get that fear-driven approach that is work, 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 work. There's time to bond. There's time to really make an impact. So that is the reason why I use laissez-faire. So not necessarily that the laissez-faire is going to qualify for everything work-life balance.
Oh, okay. All right. Charlene, do you have any question for Amma with the Ghanaian context? Because like you stated earlier, for every organization is going to be different, also depending on the stage they are. However, I think when Amma was speaking, she asked about the performance-driven. So there, typically, if somebody is coming to work, are they coming to meet family, people they can tend to be their family away from home, or they are coming for just working?
I mean, personally, this is my personal opinion, right? So I definitely will champion the performance-driven culture. However, I always have a question about the family style working culture, right? Because when we talk about like a family style working culture, we want to treat each other as a family members. But when we talk about the layoff, termination, in our daily life, usually we don't do that to our dear family members, right? So I always curious, how can we apply the family working culture, when the company face, the cash flow issue needs to shut down certain department, right? Or lay off certain number of employees. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlene. Now,
Maybe just a little top up. I think also typically in our context, so if typically like what Charlene was saying, if we find out that somebody is not doing well, or let's say the organization is going through a phase of retrenchment, I think the soft spot of Ghanaians is really at play, where we are not able to affirmatively say this is our position, and as a business we go in a firm stance. We always try to, even at the point where we are laying people off, we always try to still play the role of, oh, we are nice people, we are nice organization. It's just, so really, I think the backbone of Africa or Ghanaians is really the family-oriented setup. So I have a friend who works in United States. So he's in Virginia, and during working hours, he will tell me that he can't pick his phone because they have an organizational rule, and it's actually a practice, is an experience being lived there, that once you come, you put your phone in the locker or you put it on flight mode. But Ghana, you find somebody even working at the bank, even though there are rules that you don't answer calls when, and then your child's school is calling. They will actually tell the client that, please give me a few minutes, I need to answer this call. So these are some of the variations. That's why I brought in that it's more laissez-faire, freedom-oriented, kind of flexible as compared to some of the stories we hear from developed countries. I don't know. This is from a true life experience with my cousin in the States. I don't know whether he's just cooking up the story or really it is what it is.
Charlene, is it what it is?
Yeah, It depends, right? The example you just given, it's common to see in the United States. Again, it really depends on the nature of the business, right? For example, if I'm as an individual consumer, if I walk into the bank, I definitely do not want to see a bank teller or account representative, while he or she is talking to me, working with me on some financial planning topics, but I still, check on his or her phone. And this is an emergency, right? If an emergency is totally understandable. Again, I think, when we talk about either the family style working culture in Ghana or some other so-called professional, work-life balance style working culture in some other countries. It's really come down to, how we treat people, right? So you mentioned, if the company has some like a financial or business struggle, we need to let people go. We treat them very well. Definitely, this is a common practice in the professional HR world. When we let people go, either it's a volunteer termination or involuntary termination. When we handle the exit interview, we want to treat people with dignity, right? So, which means no matter they're our family members or not, we need to show our respect from the
Okay.
professional perspective.
Okay, but then with what you both just cited, so in a typical Ghanaian company where most times we are using our feelings in making a lot of decisions, so it's expected that HR has to be very emotional when dealing with employees. So in this sense, when you are trying, like the performance, the example you just gave, somebody is not performing. So strategically, the business would have to say goodbyes to this person. But then everybody, once you do that, the other employees are thinking that the organization is not sensitive to the need of the employees. Then those who are remaining will start thinking that the organization has a toxic culture.
Well, I would say from the standpoint of a human resources professional, I think it is not about emotions. It is about we empathizing. So there is that clear distinction between sympathy and empathy. The case in point is we need to lay people off. And there is a clear reason why we need to lay people off. Well, to the other people, they don't know what happens in the closed doors. If an HR professional is having a heart-to-heart conversation with leadership team as to why we need to exhaust all opportunities or all assets or all cut down rules before we can touch the human assets, the other employees are not there. So they only see what is at the tip of the iceberg. And in an organizational theory, it runs like an iceberg. The part that is within the sea, people do not see it. So I think it's not really about emotions, but there are times that it plays a role, because I told you about empathy, and you can't have empathy when you are emotionally not intelligent. So emotional intelligence will tell you that these are people who are going to be weaned off their daily bread. How do I engage them for them to appreciate that we are not just laying them off for laying sake, but we are really laying them off to salvage the organization? And so we will offer support, we will offer counseling programs, we will offer means of ways you can even find another job by helping you build your CV and all that. So how it is being played out is where really it lies, the differences lies. How people or other employees will perceive whether this organization is toxic or is not toxic is really how the HR professional conveys the message to all the other employees. So I think feelings is important in HR role because emotional intelligence is a key.
I believe you heard. Feelings is important. We have to recognize it. However, we don't use just that to make a decision. Now, Shellen, you are a board member with ECL. So what we would like to know is, what is the typical role of leadership in building the culture of an organization? You can share some practical insight of what you've done in the past and what you are currently doing for ECL.
I would say, from the board level or leadership level, ECL is really highlight ethical standard, integrity, and also empower people and give them opportunity to learn, right? So I can give you one example which made me to think, how ECL's team is currently doing. I don't know if you remember that, Yvonne, when you had your first presentation at the HR committee meeting, right? So I I heard you use a teammate rather than employee, right? So I'm sure you will agree with me at this point. In the HR world, we often hear about headcount, workers, but when I heard our HR manager use a teammate, this twitch about the language really made me to feel very warm, right? So from that presentation, I can see the companies here is try to foster a culture with equality and mutual respect. I want to say, respect is not just about, okay, when we write an email, we put a dear Mr. So and so, right? Respect in another, to extent is to how we respect each other's time, work, professionalism. If we give our employee enough autonomy to manage their time and the project, we can see a big difference in both productivity and job satisfactions, right? So to answer Ivan your question, I would say, we are here, the leadership from the board level, not only to set a tone for the company culture, but also lead by example, right? We want to define the company's vision and ethical standard. We also want to demonstrate the integrity and the respect. We encourage the transparency communication, and we also provide opportunities for individuals' professional growth.
Okay, thank you. So, Amma, in these 17 years you've practiced HR, how have you contributed to building culture?
Well, before I even tell you what I've done to build culture within my setup, so culture is supposed to be lived, right? It's a way of life of a group of people. Now, when you read Johnson and Scholes 1992, they designed culture in a certain way by looking at all facets in the organization. I think, like I said, usually when we mention culture, everybody is looking at, okay, the happy moment, happy hour, birthday celebration, how my CEO treats me. But he has designed culture in about 7 facets, where the key paradigm is the values, the shared beliefs for organization. And I love the ECL's values. I too fast, right?
Fast,
Good.
yes.
Okay, good. So he talks about it from the control systems perspective. And just to harness on what I have done in my space, I try to let people appreciate that in seeing how an employee will perceive an institution, it should be digested through these 7 facets. And even when you read the Hofstadter model, where he's also talking about how culture is being seen, there are certain things that you see that, okay, this organization, are they really practicing individualism or collectivism? Or are they really practicing indulgence or resistance,
Okay.
Is it more long term? Is it more short term? So if you consider the institution, breaking it down into microcosms, you will see that really this institution is up there or not. So now back to the main question you asked. So I use these models because I'm quite scientific, and I tell myself that to be able to design proper organizational culture that has to be lived, I'm looking at it right from the leadership to the person at the gate. So if it's about control systems and we have the right feedback mechanisms, it should be easy for anybody to give feedback to the person at the gate, give feedback to the CEO. So 360 feedback approach is eminent. And then if I'm looking at power structures, I should be able to identify there are institutions, there are particular departments that are more like influencers.
Yeah.
Because they see, so typically in ECL, I'm very much sure that tech department is core to the success of the business.
Exactly.
And so they will be the key influencers. So me, from an HR perspective, if I really want to drive culture, they will be my target group. And then I will then get another group that will be more of those who are the people lovers, and usually will come from people in HR, marketing, or sales. Just so we'll be able to build a comprehensive approach. Now, looking at symbols, the employer branding, what do we tell people out there? That ECL is not just about our logo, but really when you come in here, we are living the I2 fast values we talked about. Then there are stories. I'm sure when you're onboarding your people, you give them a whole history about how ECL was formed. Culture is supposed to be passed on from generation to generation. So if you are not taking an intentional approach as an HR professional to really get your people to live this experience, then I'm sure that it will eat your strategy for breakfast or for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelley, would you like to add something to what Amma just said?
I think 100% agree what Emma mentioned. In terms of the influential skills among the organization, right? So Emma widely said, okay, ECL, the technical department maybe have a much influential capabilities here, but cross departments collaboration is also important.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, having settled, like when Amma was even giving her comments, she mentioned that she loves to move with data. So, right now, I want to go into a very short, fun activity where I'm going to read some statements, and then you tell me whether it's a myth or a fact, and the reason why is a myth or a fact. So,
before you bring that in, I love to move with data, but I said emotions also count.
Matter.
Emotional intelligence, applying empathy counts in HR. Because there are times that Shalene, I don't know whether you've been there before, you recruit somebody, check all the boxes with all the skill set. Maybe you're using a competency-based approach in your recruitment. Like in terms of the skill sets, apt, knowledge, super. But behavior, there's something you can't really place your hand on. That really this person, maybe like all the things that they are saying, that is where God has given us that intelligence to make our intuition work. So really, gut counts.
Thank you. So as an HR professional, you have to move with two: data and emotional intelligence. Never forget that. Okay, so Shelly, I would like to start with you with this fun activity. Okay, so the HR's main job is to fire and to hire. Is it a myth or a fact?
For sure, it's a myth, right? Because if our job is only about hiring and firing, how about performance review and salary increase, right? So I always say, HR, don't think HR just is a hiring and firing. I would like to use the term HR means a human plus resource equal to impact.
Thank you. Human plus resource equal to impact. Perfect. Yes. Thank you. Alva, so the next one is for you. So like Shelly stated, in ECL, we don't say employees. Everybody is a teammate. We are going together. Our strategy we can never accomplish it if one person is not in. So, audience, teammates, if you want to adopt this, go ahead and do that. Amma, I think initially I brought it up. I mentioned something about work-life balance. With the route the world is going right now, do you think work-life balance is going to get better or worse?
Well, it's heavily depends on the institution or the industry you find yourself. Where I find myself is working perfectly for me. But I wouldn't say because it's working perfectly for me, every institution has to embrace that. But I think work-life balance is really an intentional approach from the teammates.
Okay.
I'm good at it,
yes,
right?
Yes, use a teammate.
So it should be an intentional approach. You should plan your day out. Really, in the wisdom of whoever designed the world of work, from industrialization, I think the perfect period that somebody can really deliver good results is 8 hours.
Okay.
So if you are doing beyond the 8 hours, know that you are collapsing your body system. So at the age of 60, you'll be behaving like somebody who is 85 because you have exhausted much of your strength at your youthful age. So I tell people that in as much as your institution is not embracing means of work-life balance, you should make it an intentional call. In Ghana, COVID taught us to have a clear balance where now people get the flexibility to work from home. Now you can hear from institutions that they are calling people back.
Yes.
Globally, I think Microsoft also called their employees back to the office and stuff like that. But really, it's not the matter of you working from the office or working from home. It's a matter of knowing that when I'm done, I have fully delivered my 8 hours. I can be bold to say, I have done well. Amma, you've done well. You have really delivered results. Then I break out from work. I get to have time with friends and family. Weekend, I don't carry work home.
Okay.
I know. I know it's erratic environment like this. This conversation shouldn't be held, but I know. You should plan it well. And I think if your supervisors are seeing that you are doing well within your 8 hours, nobody will ask you to do something beyond time for your vacation or time that you're supposed to rest. Don't forget that a heavy period of our time is spent at work. When I go home, hardly will I engage my family for quite a long time. It's maximum 3-4 hours because the rest is for us to sleep individually.
Exactly.
So really be intentional about it and balance your work and life. There's something called marshmallow body. So you go through a state where you do analysis and then you get to see where your energy is being driven towards. If it's work, you see that the body will tilt like this. But if you are balancing the work and family, like Charlie, your composure and everything is clear. So please don't forget the marshmallow body. Let it be perfect.
Okay, Amma is teaching us a lot of new terms. Marshmallow body. Okay, so Shellen, having practiced for so many years, is there any culture that is trending? Any HR initiative that is trending at the moment that you would like to adopt? Any policy?
Any policy? I mean, again, policies really depends on the nature of the business, right? But I would like to see the trend is like, since AI technology is everywhere right now, right? So I would like to see how can an organization to foster a innovative culture, which means, we allow employees to try different type of experiment, right? And to try different ways to find the solutions for the current challenge. This is the something I would like to see, in any organization, to have the different department to work together, have the collaborations within the organizations, and to seek the best solution for the company. And then we can stay ahead of the industry trend.
Okay, thank you. Amma?
Yeah, so I share the same view as Shalene. AI is taking over. So if really you are HR and you are not building or upscaling in AI technologies, I don't know who you are. I don't know what to call you. Because really there will come a time where now using application tracking system to screen CVs will not be happening. You just push it to a system and it will be able to tell you call this person for a second stage interview, or so we'll have an AI assistant running the role of HR assistant.
Exactly.
Literally. And then that aside, and moving a bit away from AI, is more of competency-based hiring. Now, in the Ghanaian context, now people are appreciating that it's not always about your degrees, your certificates. People talk about skill-based, but I don't like the skill-based. It should be competency-based. The skill-based hiring is more focused, but the competency-based is more broader because skills is embedded in competency. And even also with this hiring approach, I think there is one big institution in Ghana I don't want to mention. Yes, doing very well with talent programs. So they're also into technology.
Okay.
And they create challenges for people to come up with innovative ideas. And out of my research, I also found out that Salesforce, they have a very beautiful tool to map you to the right job. So you answer questions running around your preference, your values, your area of interest, and then they will pull up 1,001 jobs that you can apply. And beyond that, they will tell you the kind of skills or the kind of knowledge, the kind of attitudes you want to build to be able to chance on these jobs. So I think these initiatives are wonderful, and technology is the one driving it. And I know ECL is doing so well when it comes to these innovations. So that's really the order of the day.
All right. Thank you. So my audience will be wrapping up shortly. But before we do, I have one final question for Sherlyn and Amma. So both of you are seasoned HR professionals. Somebody joining the world of corporate will be looking at you as the gatekeepers. As they are coming in, what is the advice you give them before they join corporate world?
I would say I'm a very easy gatekeeper because I would like to, from my HR philosophy, I always see, people has a great potentials, right? But if I have an opportunity to give some advice to the people who are going to join the corporate work in the near future, I would say, keep a growth mindset, because learning is a lifelong journey, right? And the corporate work is constantly evolving. So as long as we stay curious, adaptable, there definitely will be an opportunity for us to grow. But also for any individuals, even for the HR department of our organization, we need to ask ourselves questions. I mean, in the future, the technology world, are we going to use AI to do different things, or we're going to use AI to do things differently, right? No matter what, we have to embrace the technology.
Thank you, Amma.
Yeah, so for just similar thoughts like Shalene, but just a little to add, I really value attitude. I say that your CV, your skill set will take you to the doorway, but attitude will keep you in there. So if you're a young professional looking for means to come through the doorway where we are able keepers, please work well on your attitude. Your can-do spirit has to be obvious. Your humility, respect for authority, respect for your peers, it should count high. The learning, Shalene has overflogged it, so I don't need to also talk about it. And your digital skills. Now you go for interviews and the simulations they are given, they call something gamification. If you've not been exposed to it, how will you even click here, click there? So you need to upskill when it comes to your digital skills too. Right. But attitude counts.
Thank you very much, Amma. So thank you so much for joining us at ACL Studios, where we looked at company culture. So now you know that company culture is not built by one person, and it's not something that is written, it is lived. And if you are coming in as a young professional, make sure you are working on your attitude, you are working on your technological skills and expertise, and also you don't forget that when you come in, it's a lifelong journey. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.